From preparation to implementation, a look at metadata quality assessment. As the technology age continues with its rapid advances, digital collections of information are becoming more ubiquitous. With this ever-growing and increasingly diverse category of collection comes the necessity to develop new ways to make the information accessible. As a result, a variety of metadata standards have been developed to ensure that both catalogers and users get the most out of these digital resources. From Dublin Core to categories for the description of works of art, CDWA, metadata creators have a plethora of options when deciding how to catalog their works. With all these choices, though, how do metadata experts ensure the quality of their records? A look at current literature may help. Quality control in the creation and implementation of metadata is not a new issue, but it has been slow to develop. According to Hillman, this is in part due to librarians. The conversation about metadata quality has developed slowly in libraries, hindered by unexamined assumptions about metadata carrying over from experience in the MARC environment. Library-based metadata professionals see their task as primarily one of metadata creation and tend to approach the problems of inadequate metadata quality from the viewpoint of a creator. Therefore, librarians must stop trying to tackle the metadata problem from the creation end and turn their focus to making it during augmentation and transformation. Though Hillman gives few answers, others have provided suggestions. Stavilla and Gasser argue that before metadata quality can be improved, institutions must first conduct a value-based assessment of said metadata. In order to maintain the highest possible metadata quality, institutions should use various information quality evaluations. By treating metadata objects as products, it becomes possible to measure their value and value changes based on information activity outcomes. Based on this premise, the authors have created a series of equations to determine the value of a metadata object. It is important to note, however, that increasing the quality of metadata past a required level does not improve metadata value. Additional work has been done on creating frameworks for quality control of metadata. Stavilla, Gasser, Twidell, and Smith designed an information quality assessment framework that consists of comprehensive topologies of information quality problems, related activities, and a taxonomy of information quality dimensions organized in a systematic way based on sound theories and practices. They identified 4 sources of information quality problems: mapping, changes to the information entity, changes to the underlying entity or condition, and context changes. Based on these premises, the authors designed steps for creating an information quality assessment. These steps include analyzing information systems for activity types, decomposing the activity system into actions, operations, roles, and tools, and identifying. An additional framework has been created by Kelly, Clozier, and Hoem. In designing this framework, the researchers came up with a series of rules for quality assurance, including base metadata choices on functionality, use consistent metadata creation methods, update metadata when updating the electronic resources, create metadata with the realization that interoperability may be a future necessity, and be assured that metadata creation and management tools can validate future metadata and organize it in a controlled format. Additionally, the authors present a toolkit which can be used for self-assessment. These suggestions and frameworks are valuable, but do information professionals have the skills to implement them? This is a question addressed by a study conducted by Park, Tasaka, Mazzaro, and Liu in 2010. The study analyzed educational development and continual education needs. They used a web survey comprised of 49 questions, both multiple choice and open-ended. Out of the 1,371 respondents who began the survey, 303, or 22.1%, completed it. The results were promising in that professionals are very interested in professional development, but disappointing in the fact that though they are interested, these professionals often do not receive it due to lack of funding. When asked what training was most desired, the overwhelming answer was metadata quality control, further illustrating the lack that exists currently. The importance of metadata quality can be seen easily through Google, which millions of people use every day. Two specific Google products, Google Books and Google Scholar, exhibit true metadata quality issues. Jeff Nunberg was one of the first scholars to analyze and criticize Google's use of metadata to make its information accessible, referring to Google's efforts as a train wreck, a mishmash wrapped in a muddle, wrapped in a mess. Analyzing dates, authors, subjects, and categories, Nunberg describes an array of issues that stem from poorly parsed metadata. For example, publication dates often appear before the author's birth or after the author's death, which means that you could find something written by Shakespeare that Google says was published in 1996. Additionally, one must question the way Google classifies books. For example, Jane Eyre is categorized under both architecture and antiques and collectibles. It is also interesting to note that a Library of Congress catalog of copy entries is categorized under drama. Though Nunberg offhandedly wonders if this is a joke, Google's metadata problems certainly are not. Peter Jasko continues his conversation with an in-depth look at Google Scholar, and a major concern that he notes is the persistence of ghost authors. In a short article for Library Journal, Jasko postulates that Google decided very unwisely not to use good metadata generously offered to them by scholarly publishers and indexing and abstracting services, but instead chose to figure them through ostensibly smart crawler and parser programs. This decision has Jasko continues this discussion in a 2010 article, which provides a more in-depth analysis of the problems. He again raises the problem of ghost authors, recounting not only the obvious problem of not giving proper credit, but the less recognized problem of reducing author citedness counts, which has great effect in academia's publish or perish world. Inadequacies of Google's parsers have caused author names to be extracted from website menu options, paper descriptors, affiliated institutions, and even journal names. This is evidenced by the questionably popular author names such as payment options, please log in, strategic plan, iBackground, and iObjectives, beyond the most popular forgot password, iIntroduction, and rsubscribe. While conducting a search for the author background, I came across a record for an article written by B Notes. Upon viewing the actual journal article, however, one can clearly see that the authors are in fact Anne Malin, Peter Malin, and Argelis Ruiz. Additionally, Jasko discusses the errors made concerning publication dates. He attributes these inaccuracies to the parsers being very unconventional but versatile in interpreting any numeric data as a publication year, including page numbers or area codes, or street addresses in the author affiliation. And I tested Jasko's claim, doing a basic search for articles published between 2015 and 2020, and I was astonished to be presented with over 1,000 results, none of which should exist because none of which should have actually been published yet. Google is not a fortune teller. Others have suggested that perhaps the problems are not all Google's fault. Dawson and Hamilton suggest web publishers make changes to their approach, what they call Google-friendly publishing. The author suggests data shuggling, which refers to rejiggling or republishing existing digital collections and their associated metadata for the specific purpose of making them more easily retrievable via Google. Their most interesting suggestion is that of modifying the title tag, which is the one metadata element that Google uses. By combining title, author, date, and item type into one title tag, one can make the item more searchable. Using this method, a portrait of George Washington, America's first president, painted in 1796, would be given an HTML title tag that looks like this. In conclusion, research shows that there is a serious lack of quality control. This problem is exacerbated by not only the sheer number of metadata standards, each of which was created for a specific purpose, but also by attitudes that are not conducive to improvement. Most information scientists labor under the belief that metadata problems come from metadata creation. This belief must be changed. Some suggestions have been made and frameworks presented, yet metadata professionals often lack the training required to make necessary improvements. Additionally, the metadata crisis has expanded beyond the world of academia to the world at large through the guise of Google. Amateur researchers using Google for answers are often unable to find the resources they need or are presented with misinformation. Organizations need to make systematic changes through policies of creation and professional development.